The next example that I want to look at is the method called difference of two squares. And before we get on to some examples of this, I just want to spend some time to look at where this actually comes from. This method of factorization is a little bit different because it comes from just noticing something about expanding. If I take something like this, where I've got an a plus 2 and an a minus 2, so any expression where the first and the last term in each bracket is the same, so both of these start with an a and end with a 2, the only difference is the sign in between. If I take something like that and expand it, we see something nice happen. Using the FOIL method from this expansion, a times a is a squared, a times negative 2 is negative 2a, positive 2 times a is positive 2a, 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. Have a look at this expression here. We'll notice that we've actually got a positive 2a and a negative 2a, and those are going to cancel out with each other. So what I'm going to be left with is an a squared minus 4. Now, this is of particular interest to us with factorization, because if we look at something like this, something in this form, then it means that I can automatically go back to this step. And the form that we're interested in here, I have something at the start that's squared, a squared, something at the end that's squared, 4 is a square number, 2 squared, and I've got a difference in between them, that is a subtraction. So this is what we call a difference of two squares. We can write this a bit more generally, and we say that anything that looks like this, anything of this form, a plus b, a minus b, so the same a in both brackets, the same b in both brackets, and a different sign, something's in this form, then it will expand to give us a squared minus b squared. And with factorization, we're thinking about going the other way. So anytime I see something like this, a squared minus b squared, I can automatically write it in the form a plus b, a minus b. Let's look at our first example here. I've got a 4x squared minus 9, and this fits my form that I'm interested in, a squared minus b squared. So what we need to do is we need to think about what are our a and what are our b. And we know that this is going to factorize into this form. One of these will be a plus, one will be a minus. Let's look at our first term. This tells me that a squared is 4x squared. So what's the square root of that? The square root of that will be what a is. Well, the square root of 4 is 2, and the square root of x squared is x. So my a is 2x. We can check that. If I squared that, I'd get back to 4x squared. Now let's look at our b. b squared is 9. Well, the square root of 9 is 3, so b is 3. And that is actually all there is to factorizing a difference of two squares. I've gone from this form, the expanded form, into a factorized form. And we could check that this is correct by expanding the brackets again. So using my FOIL method, I could check this. I'll just tick it here to say that it is correct. But we could check it by going 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times negative 3 is negative 6x. 3 times 2x is positive 6x. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. And these two terms are again going to cancel. And we're left with 4x squared minus 9, which is what we started with. So that tells us that we have indeed factorized correctly.